Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers' Weekly Roast. Today, say cheese. A tasty dive into the world of Gouda and beyond.
Welcome back, everyone, to another riveting episode of our Weekly Roast. Today, we've got a very special guest who's flown in all the way from the distant land of Memetopia and is now in Memafield, the one and only Garfield. Yes, Garfield, the cat.
Memetopia, huh? You make it sound like I came in on a diplomatic mission. I just showed up for the snacks, to be honest.
Well, lucky for you, Garfield, we've got a whole episode dedicated to one of the best snacks known to humanity. It's time to talk cheese. And that's all thanks to our dear moobunny. But before we really get into the subject, Skinner, I have to say and tell our listeners first, I'm still a bit baffled by your tactical thinking. I would never have believed you could do that.
Tactical thinking. What? Oh yes, I know what you mean. Dear viewers out, Chalmers and I here played Monopoly with Dizenzo and a friend of his, Julia, last week.
And believe it or not, Skinner actually won. You and your stupid orange streets with the 4 houses on them. Julia landed on it and bang, she was bankrupt.
Hey, Chalmers. She usually wins, Dizenzo said, so it's not that bad. Well, then I drove Chalmers to ruin, and in the end it was Dizenzo's turn. You wouldn't believe how simmering the air was in that room.
Indeed, but I was very proud of you, Skinner. You really have it in you, the tactical thinker. I just hope lucky in the game, unlucky in love isn't the motto now.
Now don't tell me that kind of cheese, as you would say in German. But while we're at it, yes, it's about cheese.
Ah, cheese. Now you're speaking my language. I'm surprised I've never met you guys sooner. So, why do people in your community even love me so much? I mean, I'm just a cat with big bones who eats lasagna and makes snide comments. Not exactly world-shaking stuff.
Maybe that's exactly it, but it's not your community. You can also be a part of it if you want. Everyone out there is welcome, and I think people just connect with your honesty. You don't pretend to be anything other what you are. A food-loving, sarcasm-filled, slightly lazy legend. And, for some reason, leaving, well, a bit unpleasant and also a bit grotesque stuff here and there in my house, according to Artic's AI stream. But anyways, today we're all about connecting over cheese. Did you know it's one of humanity's oldest discoveries? We're talking thousands of years.
Cheese is the ultimate mystery. It's like a culinary treasure that survived the test of time. And let's be real. It's also like a science experiment that actually worked out.
Let me guess. Cheese was discovered by some guy who left milk out in the sun for too long and said, "Hey, maybe this weird lump tastes good."
Actually, you're not too far off. They say cheese was discovered when people used animal stomachs to carry milk. The rennet in the lining of the stomach caused the milk to curdle and boil. Cheese was born.
So, Garfield, what would you do if you had been the one to discover cheese?
I'd probably eat half of it right there and keep the other half for emergencies. Cheese is essential. I mean, look at how many things you can put it on. Burgers, pizza, nachos, more burgers, more pizza, and don't even get me started on lasagna.
Right? And cheddar, mozzarella, Gouda. Each one brings its own personality to the table. I think cheese might be the one thing that can unite us all.
Except for blue cheese. That stuff smells like it's been hiding in the back of a gym locker since 1978.
Blue cheese is definitely an acquired taste, but even that has a bit of magic, don't you think? It's a cheese that's molded to perfection, and those little blue veins are what give it that strong, sharp kick.
Perfected mold. Humans are weird. Who thought, let's take this fuzzy green stuff and make it a delicacy?
Honestly, who knows? But that's what makes cheese so incredible. Every type of cheese has its own story. Some cheeses were designed to last for months on long journeys, while others are made to be savored fresh. It's a culinary timeline all in one food.
And cheese has come a long way from those early experiments. Did you know cheddar cheese isn't naturally orange? They add a dye called annatto to give it that bright color we know so well.
Wait, so you're telling me we've been eating dyed cheese all these years? What's next? Green lasagna.
It's true. The natural color of cheese depends on the milk, but it's usually a pale yellow or white. Cheddar was originally dyed to stand out in the marketplace. It's actually kind of a genius marketing move if you think about it.
Genius or not, it's cheese, so I'll eat it either way. But don't mess with my lasagna. That's non-negotiable.
Don't worry, Garfield, your lasagna's safe. Today we're keeping the focus on cheese and all its quirks. Like, get this, Wisconsin makes over 2 billion pounds of cheese each year. That's more cheese than some countries probably even see in a lifetime.
Wisconsin, huh? Sounds like I need to pay that place a visit. A whole state of cheese. I could get used to that.
And if you ever want to feel like a giant, here's a fact for you. Canada once made a cheese wheel that weighed over 57,000 pounds. They actually had to use 500,000 pounds of milk to make it.
57,000 pounds. I'd get lost in that cheese wheel and probably never be heard from again. Not the worst way to go, though.
Imagine that, Garfield, a cheese labyrinth. You'd be the hero of your own story, making your way through walls of cheddar and Gouda, finding hidden pockets of brie.
Walls of cheddar, you say? I could conquer that labyrinth, one bite at a time.
All right, now we're talking cheese fantasies, but let's save some of those dreams for later in the episode.
All right, so for now, I would like to know what exactly made the milk curdle in your story before, how cheese was discovered. Was it just sitting around too long in that animal's stomach, or was there some ancient cheese magic involved?
That's where science comes in. It was actually thanks to an enzyme called rennet. Animals' stomachs, especially from young calves, have a natural source of rennet, which helps milk separate into solid curds and liquid whey. So when people stored milk in those stomach pouches, the rennet worked its magic and voiled instant cheese.
That's strangely impressive, but it does make me wonder, what didn't those ancient people try to eat by accident? Oh, this plant is poisonous, better skip that. Oh, this thing smells weird. Let's give it a go.
The original culinary explorers, right? It's like they just kept rolling the dice on food. And honestly, aren't we glad they did?
Exactly. If they hadn't been so adventurous, we'd never have all these varieties of cheese today. You've got everything from creamy brie to sharp cheddar to crumbly blue cheese, all because some ancient person decided to give funky milk a try. And nowadays, fortunately, many cheeses are also made vegetarian with microbial rennet.
I still can't get past blue cheese. Mold as an ingredient. I'm all for food, but even I have limits.
You and a lot of people, Garfield. But believe it or not, blue cheese is pretty popular. It's like the strong, unique taste that people either love or hate.
Strong. Try overpowering. It's like the cheese equivalent of someone shouting in your face.
Blue cheese definitely has character. I know that Davinci once said that it gave him a headache straight after his first meal, but that character is part of its appeal. The blue mold veins develop naturally from a special type of fungus and another special type of bacteria gives it that signature tang and smell. It's all carefully controlled nowadays, but back in the day, it was probably an accidental discovery, too.
Let me get this straight. Someone found moldy cheese, thought sure, why not, and then it became a delicacy.
Pretty much. And to be fair, people back then were probably more willing to take risks with food than we are now. I mean, without supermarkets, they had to get creative.
Right? And cheese was a way to make food last. Milk would spoil in a matter of days, but if you turned it into cheese, you could store it for months, even years in some cases.
Now that I can respect, any food that can last longer and be snackable for that much time is worth keeping around. Just don't ask me to eat mold as a main ingredient.
Don't worry, Garfield, we won't be pushing the blue cheese on you. But get this! The ancient Romans even had a variety of cheeses they loved. They were the ones who really spread cheese, making across Europe. They even taxed it.
A cheese tax. I'm outraged on behalf of all my fellow cheese lovers. You find the greatest snack on earth and then make people pay extra for it. Typical humans.
Well, cheese was valuable. It wasn't just food, it was currency in a way. Soldiers got paid in cheese, traders used it to barter. It wasn't just for eating, it was part of the economy.
I think I missed my calling as an ancient cheese trader, just traveling around with wheels of cheddar and trading it for gold and silver, or better yet, lasagna.
Now that's a mental image. Garfield, the fearless cheese merchant of ancient Rome. But it's true. Cheese was this big, communal thing, especially in villages. Families would make their own, and recipes were passed down, adding their own little twists and flavors.
And that's why there are so many different types of cheese today. Each region developed its own methods based on local resources, climate, and preferences. That's why you get smooth and creamy Italian cheeses like mozzarella, but drier, harder varieties like Swiss and aged cheddar in other areas.
I've got to say, mozzarella is my kind of cheese, but Gouda is also not bad or fresh cheese. But yeah, mozzarella, so smooth, stretchy, melts perfectly on pizza. Now that's a cheese with a purpose.
Ah, the classic pizza cheese! Italians really knew what they were doing, and mozzarella is one of those cheeses that's still made fresh today. It doesn't age like a lot of others, it's meant to be eaten as soon as possible.
Don't tempt me with fresh mozzarella. I could go for a nap after a nice, cheesy pizza. You know, in ancient times, they might have even invented pizza first if they'd had the right oven for it.
They were close. The ancient Greeks and Romans both had something similar to pizza. Flatbreads with toppings like herbs, olive oil, and cheese. It just wasn't the pizza we know today.
Still sounds pretty good. They might not have had pepperoni yet, but cheese on bread, that's timeless.
Agreed. Cheese is one of those things that connects us to the past in such a simple way. You eat a piece of cheese and it's like you're tasting a little bit of history.
Cheese with a side of nostalgia, huh? Alright, I think I can get behind that. Just no more moldy surprises, okay?
Yeah, we've noted. We'll keep things in the fresh and melty, but not moldy category.
With that attitude, let's talk cheese facts from around the world. Did you guys know that Greece is the top cheese consumer per capita? They eat more cheese than any other country. Meanly feta.
Greece, huh? I didn't peg them as cheese fanatics. I mean, feta's alright, but top of the world for cheese. What are they doing? Sprinkling it on everything.
Pretty much. Feta is a staple in Greek cuisine. They use it in salads, pastries, main dishes, you name it. It's like the national sidekick.
Feta is to Greece what lasagna is to you, Garfield.
Bold words, Skinner, but you're right. If I lived in Greece, I'd probably be swimming in feta too. But I must intervene. Greece the place where people eat the most cheese. Nah, sorry, that's probably not right.
You sure, Garfield? Let's use a wonderful invention from humanity, the internet. Let me see what I can find. Let's do a real-time fact check.
Great idea. So you listeners can't be out there thinking, whoa, so wrong while listening. And Skinner, anything found yet?
Indeed, I have found that the top 5 places with highest cheese consumption per capita are France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and the Netherlands.
Isn't that a realm in Minecraft?
I guess that was a good one, Garfield. But incredible anyways, Greece is also in the top 10. But Greece isn't the only place with deep cheese roots. The Netherlands is also pretty famous for their cheese markets. Have you heard of the Alkmaar cheese market? It's been around since the 1300s.
Oh, Alkmaar! The Dutch know how to throw a cheese party. They even have cheese carriers dressed in traditional uniforms, moving huge wheels of cheese around the market.
Wait, people are still hauling cheese around in uniforms. What is this? The Cheese Olympics?
Close enough. And it's all done with ceremony and tradition. Those wheels of cheese are heavy, so they have to use these special wooden carriers, and it's a whole production. But it's not just about buying cheese, it's about celebrating it.
And they take it seriously, too. There's even a Dutch saying that goes, don't let the cheese be eaten from your bread. It means, like, don't let yourself get taken advantage of.
That's a solid motto. Maybe your former mayor and dear friend ArticTiger confirm that in the comments. In my world, though, don't let the lasagna be eaten from your plate has more urgency.
I could see that catching on, but honestly, the Dutch are big on cheese, and they've got so many varieties too. Gouda, Edam, Leyden. Their cheese is exported all over the world.
Speaking of the Dutch, did you hear about the new mayor of Memfield, Garfield? We've gone global in our own way. A goat named Van Goat has taken the office, and they is using all these Dutch sayings. His big one is, don't let the grass be eaten from your cheese.
Van Goat, you can't be serious. So you've got a mayor who's a goat and is trying to protect their cheese, which, I assume, is just grass.
Exactly. The goat is all about the grass. They even held a press conference with nothing but bleats and chewing. It's the talk of the town.
Now there's a mayor with some priorities. But don't make jokes about our mayor. They are doing a good job, and since the election of Van Goat, the various grasses in the town are blooming even better.
In that case, if a goat can be mayor, I could be mayor of, I don't know, the world spa. I mean, Lasagna Reserve. No cheese would be safe.
I'd vote for that. But seriously, cheese isn't just fun for us. It's a symbol of local pride in places like the Netherlands, and there are even rivalries over which region makes the best cheese.
Absolutely. Cheese is deeply personal for a lot of countries. In fact, France has a cheese for nearly every day of the year.
So, you're telling me that in France, you could have 365 different cheeses in 1 year. Now that is a country that knows its priorities.
Imagine that, Garfield, a new cheese every day. They say that no 2 French cheeses are exactly alike, and each one reflects the local soil, grass, and traditions.
I'd need a map, a passport, and some stretchy pants for that kind of journey. I'd be unstoppable.
France takes it to the next level with their cheese variety, but Italy isn't far behind. They've got Parmigiano Reggiano mozzarella, Gorgonzola, Pecorino, the list goes on.
Finally, some mozzarella appreciation. You know, it's practically a universal cheese. Put it on pizza, melt it in lasagna, or just eat it as is. It's cheese that doesn't overthink itself.
Well said, Garfield. Mozzarella is like the cheese world's diplomat. It fits in everywhere.
Indeed, mozzarella can even be funny. I mean, what do you call a row of people lifting mozzarella? A cheesy pickup line.
You've got that from Reddit, let's be honest.
Yeah, I must admit. But it was funny, wasn't it?
At least you've tried. But to overcome cringe silence, guys, hold on to your hats because we're diving into one of the world's classic cheeses, Gouda. It's the pride and joy of the Dutch people, and for good reason. Gouda makes up over half of the world's cheese consumption. That's a lot of cheese wheels. Yeah, cheese rolls, a cheese roll, more cheese rolls, cheese roll, cheese roll, cheese roll, and yeah, cheese roll.
You've dug up a real classic Skinner. And if any of our viewers are confused, just pop over to the Memmed Hams AI Twitch stream and ask people. I assure you, you'll understand. Yet, creating Gouda is a fascinating process that involves some serious artistry, especially the traditional methods like people in Hamilton. They're basically cheese alchemists over there.
Cheese alchemists. So they're like wizards with dairy. I could get behind that. Can you imagine? Magic wands made of cheese sticks.
Close! They do it all with big open vats and fresh milk piped in straight from the neighboring farm. The milk is heated, cooled, and then mixed with special cultures to start off the magic. It's a whole day affair actually, with a ton of hands on work.
Hands on. Wait, they're stirring up gallons of milk all day. These people must have some serious arm muscles. It's like working out for cheese.
Pretty much. They pasteurize the milk first, heating it up to 72 degrees Celsius to kill any pesky bacteria. Then they add in these bacterial cultures to give the cheese that signature tang.
Oh, so we're talking the good bacteria, right? I could use some of those good bacteria in my life. Might help me deal with Mondays better.
Ha, Garfield, you already have. Our bodies have more bacteria in them than we had own body cells. And then comes rennet. This is what actually makes the cheese solid. It's an enzyme that gets the milk to coagulate, separating it into curds and whey. That's when you start seeing actual cheese forming.
Cheese magic right there. All this just to get those golden, gooey blocks we see in the store.
Yup, and cutting the curds is key. They're cut into small pieces, which releases more whey and lets them control the moisture. Since Gouda's a semi-hard cheese, they cut the curds pretty small to get just the right texture.
Let me get this straight. They spend hours making sure the curds are just the right size, and then they have to squeeze out all the liquid.
Exactly. Once the curds are just right, they're stirred up and heated again with hot water to release even more whey. This part's crucial for the texture.
Wait, they're rinsing the cheese in hot water. Okay, now we're getting a bit too experimental for my tastes.
It's not exactly a rinse. It's more of a way to raise the temperature and help get the moisture down. Then they compress the curds into molds where they get a nice, tight shape and form that familiar cheese wheel look.
So it's all about getting the perfect cheese shape. They're like cheese sculptors. This is getting better by the second.
You're right on the money. Once the curd is in the molds, they actually compress it even more to squeeze out every last bit of whey. Then they pop it into a salt brine, which helps with flavor and stops any unwanted bacteria from showing up.
And after that, they coat the cheese with a special cheese coat. A food-grade coating, for example, imported from Holland. It keeps out anything bad, lets it breathe, and gives it that classic glossy finish.
Now we're talking. Cheese armor. I know sounds more like an item from Miitopia, but still, this cheese deserves to be treated like royalty, and then they age it, right?
Exactly. The final touch, they age the cheese in a special room kept at the perfect temperature and humidity. Over time, it develops that deep, rich flavor Gouda's famous for.
During this time, they turn the cheese wheels every day so the texture and flavor are consistent all the way through. They treat each cheese like a work of art.
All this turning and flipping, they're like cheese gymnasts. If I were a cheese, I'd want to be a Gouda.
Okay, folks, now, before we end our episode, here's a question for you. Did you know that cheese isn't just delicious, but it's practically a superfood? Packed with vitamin A, vitamin B12, phosphate, calcium, zinc, and magnesium, this stuff is a powerhouse.
A superfood, you say? You mean to tell me that cheese is not only tasty, but it's also good for me? Sign me up. I'm ready to start the Garfield cheese diet right now.
Easy there, Garfield. Cheese does have incredible benefits, especially for bones and teeth, thanks to all that calcium and vitamin K2. But remember, balance is key in any diet. As great as cheese is, we can't be eating it all day. Right, Skinner?
Speak for yourself, Chalmers. If cheese is packed with nutrients, I'm all in. You know, cheese could practically be considered a chewy toothbrush, with all its benefits for teeth. Calcium, vitamin K2, phosphate. It's like brushing your teeth from the inside.
Now that is dental care I can get behind. No more flossing, just cheese plates all day. Think of it as preventive lasagna. All those minerals must mean that cheese actually fortifies the lasagna structure, right?
You've certainly got a creative approach, Garfield. But yes, calcium and vitamin K2 are fantastic for our bones and teeth. It's true, cheese helps build strong teeth from within. There's also a bit of zinc and magnesium in there, which we don't always get enough of, even though they're important for the immune system and especially muscle function.
So you're saying I can pump some iron and strengthen my immune system, all with cheese? My kind of multitasking.
You know, it gets even more fascinating during the cheese ripening process. Casein, the main protein in milk, gets broken down into all kinds of peptides, thanks to enzymes and even the microbial flora. Some of these peptides are really interesting. They're structured like neurotransmitters or hormones, almost like cheese has a secret side hustle as a health supplement.
Right? Those cheese-derived peptides actually interact with receptors in the body, and some of them even have effects similar to natural hormones. We're talking bioactive peptides that could potentially influence things like blood pressure or immune response. It's like cheese is a whole chemistry lab of health benefits.
Cheese is my personal pharmacist. Now I've heard everything. But hey, I'm all for it if it means more cheese is on the menu. Any side effects I should know about?
Side effects include deliciousness, possible addiction to Gouda, and a deep, inexplicable love of cheddar. Also, maybe occasional dreams of rolling cheese wheels down a hill. Cheese rolls.
Side effects sound manageable. And honestly, I'd rather dream of cheese wheels than have nightmares about salad. Or an orange, like Sonic did in your Tomodachi Life Let's Play.
Well, that's a whole other story there, but just remember, Garfield, balance is key. Cheese is amazing and nutrient-dense, but it should be part of a varied diet. We need a mix of fruits, vegetables, grains, all the good stuff, to make sure we're getting the full spectrum of nutrients. It's not just about cheese, and I repeat, it's not just about cheese.
All right, I hear you. But don't be surprised if my varied diet looks more like cheese, lasagna, more cheese, and maybe a sprig of parsley for color.
Well, let's just say you've got the spirit. And Garfield, here's a final fun fact for you. Some studies suggest that those bioactive peptides in cheese can survive digestion. So, they might even work in the body similarly to hormones or neurotransmitters.
Cheese that doesn't quit even after digestion, that's dedication. I say we give cheese a medal for best supporting nutrient.
Well, cheese does deserve a bit of a spotlight. It's full of hidden benefits, some we're only beginning to understand. And who knows, maybe one day, the health community will uncover even more about these bioactive peptides.
Absolutely. Cheese might be one of those foods that brings us more health benefits than we even realize. The science is there, and it's an evolving field. So, who knows? One day we might even see cheese supplements on the shelves.
If that day comes, count me in. I'll be the first one in line for a lifetime supply. And hey, if there's a cheese enthusiast medal, I want one of those too.
Well, Garfield, I think we can unofficially crown you King of Cheese. Already! Better than that other title the Speedy Roasters gave you, I guess.
Now that's a title I'm proud to wear.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our cheesy adventure. We've covered Gouda from the ground up, crunched the numbers on milk to cheese ratios, and even learned that cheese is basically a nutrient-packed, tasty.
It's been a journey, hasn't it? I'm pretty sure we've just scratched the surface of all there is to know about cheese. From its accidental beginnings in animal stomachs to its rise as a superfood, who would have thought cheese could be so fascinating?
Fascinating and delicious, if you ask me. I'd like to personally thank every ancient human who stumbled upon cheese, so I can enjoy it today. I mean, where would lasagna be without cheese? Not even half as good, that's for sure.
And I'd like to thank each and every one of you out there who's tuned in today. Whether you're a Gouda lover, a cheddar champion, or even a brie buff, we're glad you joined us on this quest for cheese knowledge.
Absolutely. We've had a blast sharing these stories, facts, and fun little tidbits with you all. Cheese may be old, but there's always something new to learn about it. and we're grateful to have you along for the ride.
And don't worry, everyone. If there's ever another cheese episode, I'll be here to remind you all why cheese is the single most important food group. You can count on it.
Oh, we wouldn't have it any other way, Garfield. All right, dear listeners, that wraps up another episode. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Join us for more culinary, cultural, and downright quirky conversations.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, give us a shout out, share your thoughts, and maybe tell us your favorite cheese. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and if you have any extra lasagna recipes, you know where to find me.
From all of us here, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay curious, stay cheesy, and until next time.
Until next time, bon appetit.
Bon appetit, and thanks for having me in your podcast.